All right, we're live. There's Lance Taylor. I'm Ryan Brown. Alabama is on their way to the Final Four for the first time in school history. Of all the teams, Lance Taylor, that Alabama has had, for this one to be the Final Four team is pretty crazy.
I mean, it's amazing. Last year, I think a good majority of us had Alabama in the Final Four as a 1 seed. A lot of people had them winning the national championship. And going into this tournament, it seemed like a one-and-done situation. They got a really good draw. We said that initially. And they made the most of their draw. But the way they're playing right now, my gosh, I mean, we'll get to this, but the biggest obstacle looks like a freaking buzzsaw.
Yeah, you celebrate tonight and you worry about UConn some other time. I mean, this an incredible game. I mean, these last two games Alabama have played have been highly entertaining game against Carolina and Clemson. It seemed like, Lance, to me, Alabama was banged up, obviously. Reitzel not playing, Pringle playing hurt. Ryland Griffin got banged up there for a second. They were down, 13? I mean, it felt like, boy, this team has probably given you everything they've got. And then from that point on, holy crap, did they shoot the eyes out of it.
I had a flashback. We did pregame today, and you asked me, what does Alabama have to do to win this game? And I should have said the obvious. They got to shoot 40% behind the arc. And you said when they were down 13, I was just thinking to myself, because I gave out Clemson plus the 3.5, 4, wherever you got the number tonight. I was thinking to myself at that point, Alabama ain't winning this game. I think they were 1 of 10 at that point from behind the arc, and they were down 13.
Yeah.
And I was like, they can't make this up. Like, there's no way they're going to be able to shoot, basically 60% the rest of the game to get them to 40%. And they just shot lights out. And Clemson kept making key kind of like survival shots. It always seemed like Bama was in control of this game after that run you talked about to end the first half. It never really seemed like Clemson was going to win the game. It seemed like they were doing everything they had to do to keep themselves in the game. But then after they would hit a big shot, Bama would come down and they just couldn't miss threes. I mean, and, we said this all year, and I know I'm on the Bama hype video and dogging out their defense, but I don't think I was the only one. And we talked about, if this team had effort, and like Pringle playing with the Bruise Heel, it's almost like he played more motivated. I saw so much more effort from him tonight. It was just involved in everything. But we said, if this Bama team, if they hit their threes, I mean, they're tough to beat.
Yeah. I mean, he fouled Hall out. I mean, Pringle was the reason Hall fouled out. Now, Hall, I haven't watched a ton of Clemson, but Jim Jackson talked about how Hall had an issue with that this year. I think that was the 8th time he's fouled out, 7th or 8th time this year. That was all Pringle, man. I mean, Pringle was, those guys fought inside all night. And at one point, Pringle had drawn like 12 fouls in that game.
Yeah, and I didn't think the Hall, the 5th foul was really like the hook. And it seemed like Pringle did hook him. It's one of those that I would just probably leave alone. But with all that said, yeah, you're right. And that was a major factor. And, staying with the fouls, when Grant Nelson got his second within 4 minutes of the game, they had to have some bodies for Hall. And I don't know, man, this is awesome. You think about it in the last 6 years, us growing up, and to me, Final Four, and I thought about this earlier too, Final Four to me is like getting to a Super Bowl for a fan.
Yeah.
And then, winning one game's great, whatever, winning national championship, but that's a moment you just don't see. And for us to have 2 Final Fours growing up watching this sport and just loving the tournament, and to have 2 of those schools in Auburn and now Alabama in the last 6 years it's incredible. I never really thought this, when Bruce Pearl was hired, I remember I got a lot of grief for saying this is a guy that can make a run, maybe Elite 8, maybe Final Four. And, Nate Oates, I think we've all agreed over the last couple of years. I mean, this is a guy that's going to Final Four. I even said it a couple of weeks ago. I think it might have been Greg from Pell City was in studio and talking about, as an Alabama fan, he may never see a national championship. And I was like, you're going to see a Final Four. I didn't think it'd be this year. I thought because of the setup that Bama could win a couple of games, but I did not see this.
You got a ton of comments coming in here. We'll get to those. A reminder, our postgame show here, the reaction show presented by MyBookie.ag, code next round, MyBookie.ag, code next round. When you sign on there, you'll play all the games there, and you'll get that sign-on bonus. You can use it once, win with it. It is yours and yours forever. MyBookie.ag, code next round. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.ag. And don't forget to download the Autograph app. It is absolutely free. Just enter your email. Select your favorite teams. They bring you all the content about your favorite teams in one spot. Tom Brady owns this app, so you know it's quality. All your favorite content, all your favorite teams right there in one spot with the Autograph app. Use code TNR, please, when you download it. That does help us with code TNR. So the Sweet 16 game against North Carolina will forever be known as the Grant Nelson game. Is this the Jaron Stevenson game? I mean, this dude comes off the bench, Lance, 5 of 8 from beyond the arc, scores 19 points for the Tide, and just massive three after massive three. And what I love most about the guy, man, he can shoot 3 straight air balls, and he does not care. He is just going to keep firing.
I was about to say it. He went, I think it was his second attempt from behind the arc. He missed it so bad. It looked like if you were out on the beach and, just the ball gets blown off. That's what it looked like. And then he came down and hit a 3 right after it. Then he airballed another one, and then he just caught complete fire. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting, Alabama getting to their first Final Four, how every Alabama fan will remember these games exactly. And, yeah, I think you've got from the Grant Nelson game to the Jaron Stevenson game.
Yeah, I mean, for him to come in and play the way he did, that was pretty incredible. And Alabama desperately needed it. They were so bad early on, 1 of 13 at one point from beyond the arc, and they finish 16 of 36. So to start 1 of 13 and then hit 15 of your next 23, think about that for a second. 15 of their last 23 three-pointers went down. Yeah. And it was just like every time they needed one, they made it.
Yeah, and some of the corner shot, the second to last Sears shot, I mean, it was like an Alex Dillard old school Arkansas reference from the snout. But there were some really degree of difficulty corner threes, and you could just tell the rotation when they let them go. These are probably good. I mean, again, it's and this is just shooting overall. It's a confidence thing, and once you get rolling, it's contagious. And man, the only thing that sucks for Alabama, getting to the first Final Four is incredible, but 2 things, which I know we'll get to UConn. But the other thing is the way they're playing right now and shooting the basketball. Boy, they'd love to play in 2 days.
Oh, yeah. The layoff will help you get healthy. It may help Reitzel. I mean, I've heard different things about Reitzel, Lance, but, you heard Allie LaForce and the broadcast crew there saying if they can make Phoenix, he's playing. Nate Oates has said once he gets back to Tuscaloosa, they'll get different doctors looking at him, and it'll still be a day-to-day thing. But I'll tell you what, a few days off and getting Reitzel back, the way this team is playing right now, that's their best three-point shooter. Well, and that's a team that, like I said, just finished a game hitting 15 to 23 threes.
Yeah, look, and I don't know how much Illinois you got to watch today. And I thought Illinois, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. They look great. I mean, the first half, but not great. Nobody looked great in that first half. I mean, but in the first half, they were okay.
Well, that's what I was going to say, though. Yeah. I mean, they got really good looks against UConn. If Alabama gets those looks, and Klingon has gotten so good, and he was option 3 or 4 last year for them. And I heard somebody say, what is the better team? UConn, talent-wise, last year was much better. This team is just cruising right now. But Illinois had a bunch of open looks, and they couldn't make the shots. And they missed some open layups because they were afraid Klingon was going to – I think it was Barkley brought this up at halftime. Klingon was going to block the shot. Hey, you still got to go to the basket. If he blocks the shot, he blocks the shot. But they were so intimidated, they were missing layups. But if Alabama's able to hit those open threes, they'll have the opportunity. I mean, Alabama is one of the few teams I think that actually can beat UConn just because they can get so hot from 3.
What's the point spread in that game?
Oh, I would say the way UConn is playing right now, I think it's going to be 10.5. 10.5.
Woo!
Yeah.
In a Final Four, 10.5.
Okay, but you understand they've played 4 games in this tournament, right?
I know.
They've led by 30+ in all 4 games.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I thought about this today because I was questioning myself. I'm like, why am I on Illinois? And I was like, it's kind of a lot of points. But then I started thinking it's really not. Plus 8.5 is not a lot of points. By the way, 0-2 tonight on these games going into the Elite 8 games. But we'll bounce back from that. But I was just thinking 8.5 is a lot of points. And then I was like, well, UConn is not. So this one will definitely be double digits.
Furman, watching us out in Vegas, just texted me and said he agrees with you. He could see it as high as 12.
Yeah.
So anywhere 10.5 to 12.
Yeah, 10.5 to 12. I completely agree with our man Todd. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, if you tell me Alabama's going to they hit 16 threes tonight. If you told me they were going to hit, 12 to 14 threes, I would like Bama plus the points. But if not, I don't know how the clinging dude has gotten incredible. He does everything for that team now.
Just a wild run in LA, of all places, for Alabama. They win at 89-82. It is the MyBookie.ag postgame show. Dunaway will join us in a little bit. It's going to be a little bit more delayed than normal because they've done all the celebrating out on the court. They're about to cut the nets down and all of that. So I say he's going to join us. We may wrap up before he's even finished in the locker room. But all the stuff in the locker room and on the court, the celebration, the net cutting, all of that will be at Next Round Live on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram at Next Round Live, TikTok, all over the place at Next Round Live.
Hey, let me ask you something.
Yeah, fire away.
We had 4 teams coming into this in state, and I was thinking about this too. It was such a celebratory time that first weekend, and then everybody was gone except Alabama. And I just wonder, like, I remember not necessarily Alabama fans, but it seemed like everybody wrapped around Auburn in 2018 going into that Final Four weekend. I just wonder if it's going to be kind of a communal, week where people are really excited about college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, well, hang on. This is moving so fast. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it, but I was just kind of glancing at this comment a second ago from an Auburn fan. Here it is. Here's Josh. As big an Auburn fan as they come, I'm happy for all my friends. They're going to experience the Final Four. So there's an Auburn fan already happy about it. So, I mean, there's a start for you.
I don't, I'm a Rams fan through and through, but I want you to experience the Super Bowl. I know it's different because the Dolphins and Rams not rivals, but I think that is cool for him to say that because I think I told you I grew up a huge Carolina fan. And 1993, when they won a national championship, I mean, it was up there close to Lakers, Dodgers.
Yeah. Now, I would say most Alabama fans were all on Virginia in that Final Four game. They might have said, "Hey, great job getting to the Final Four," but they were all Virginia. And I'm sure Auburn fans will be all UConn. So I get it. That's what makes this great, right?
Boy, UConn's tough to pull for.
They are. It is an annoying team, and I do not like their coach.
Oh, he is. Now that he's going to win back-to-back, because I really don't know. I mean, anything can happen, but he's probably going to win back-to-back. He's going to view himself as one of the best coaches ever. And obviously he's a great coach, but it's going to get worse and worse.
Yeah. I'm not about that guy. Give us a thumbs up for watching us on YouTube. Share us on Facebook. Retweet us on Twitter. We'll be here for a little bit with you. And again, if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that and set your alerts so you know when we're live for shows just like this. Let's see. JT is still in shock. What a game by the Tide. It's so often like I guess Alabama fans thought one day they'll go to a Final Four. But like you said, Lance, you probably always think it's a team like last year where you've got a generational player like Brandon Miller. You're the overall one. Everything is set up for you to do it. I don't know if it feels any sweeter when it's a surprise run like this or not. I don't know. I mean, it was going to be thrilling either way, but it's just kind of one of those things where when you've never done it and you're like, this is not the way I thought this was going to happen.
Well, if you're an Alabama fan, just being in this situation because of the path and being able to play Clemson, like if they would have played Arizona, the thing I was worried about for Alabama is they had gotten so excited about North Carolina. It was like, it almost felt like they were already in the Final Four. So I was a little afraid of how they would play emotionally tonight. But they ultimately, I mean, they played an incredible game. And I don't know. I think it is awesome. Watching some Clemson fans that looked about 90 years old, I was thinking to myself, they're never going to see a I didn't know if they were going to actually get into this tournament. They were one of the last at-larges.
Yeah. It just shows you. I mean, you're absolutely right. It just shows you what this tournament is. We've talked a lot about Jaron Stevenson's performance, Mark Sears' performance. I mean, it's just game after game after game for that guy. Not just distributing the ball, running the offense, scoring the points, hitting every big three he needs, everything. But Rylan Griffin's defense. Now, look, I know Gerard scored 19. He hit 5 of 10 from beyond the arc. But boy, late in that game, Rylan Griffin was all over that guy. He would not allow him to get a good, clean look.
Yeah, and I really do think that, I mean, this sounds bad because they didn't do it in the regular season, but, Nate got in their ear the one game, I forgot what it was in the regular season, maybe Missouri, and they played incredible defense. But I think he told them, look, we're not going to advance in this tournament if you don't give 40 minutes of effort. And my gosh, man, I mean, and Rylan Griffin is arguably the best defensive one-on-one guy Alabama's got.
Yeah. We talked about this when you were gone. The question was asked of us if Alabama can beat North Carolina and make the Elite Eight, or then even advance on to the Final Four. When do we start talking about Nate Oates being the best coach in Alabama basketball history? I think Wimp is the guy, Lance, that everybody thinks it is, obviously, as with all due respect to CM Newton. And I just made the statement, I don't see a scenario where if Nate Oates stays at Alabama that he won't one day be the best coach there. But now that he's done this, I mean, it is worth it. People are asking us, I mean, look right here, Jeff, has Oates officially passed Wimp? It's been asked a lot already in this chat, and this game's not even an hour old yet.
Well, no disrespect to Wimp, but yeah, I would say probably now. I know all active Alabama fans would list it. If you could go back in time, dig some people up, show them the numbers. But it's 3 Sweet 16s in the last years, right?
Yeah. So he's been in Alabama 5 years,
yeah.
and they canceled the tournament his first year, the COVID tournament. So that got canceled. So he's only had 4 tournaments. He's made all 4. He's had a Sweet 16, Sweet 16, and a Final Four. The other one was a one and done. I mean, that's a heck of a tournament right there.
Yeah. And look, I mean, with the contract he just signed, with the now Alabama being in the Final Four, I don't know what that's worth exposure wise, just to have your brand there every week. And if you've got, one of these guys trying to decide between now Alabama, Kentucky, and Florida, it really becomes a real decision because, kids now, here and now, it's what they want. And for Alabama's brand to be out there and the style of basketball, we've always talked about that. So I think Nate will continue to utilize the portal, getting guys like obviously Mark Sears and Estrada and Grant Nelson, but the high school guys he's going to be able to pull in as well.
Yeah, and obviously the portal is wide open right now. It opened the first day after the conference championship tournaments were over. So the day after Selection Sunday, the transfer portal opened. So it's wide open right now. So, I mean, they're fishing in there. They're obviously still recruiting. But as I said, when we started talking after the North Carolina game, there's a possibility Alabama goes to the Final Four. This is the time where Greg Byrne can start getting in people's pockets for that arena, Lance. I mean, what a better time to call a booster than when your team's in the Final Four saying, all right, Nate's done everything he can now. We've got to give him what he needs tool-wise, and if they think that's an arena, this is it.
And I would do it this week between the Final Four before you play a game, and when all of those big boosters are in spending mode. All those guys are going to Phoenix.
Yep.
They're figuring out which resort to play at, tee times, dinner reservations, all that. So these guys are in spend mode. Now is the time to hit them up.
Yep. I wonder what that ticket will be like out there. You were talking about that in the pregame show. We know it's UConn and Alabama. Purdue's fan base has got to be starving if they go. Tennessee's, would be if they go. Duke, I mean, they've done it so many times, but it's been a minute for Duke if they're able to make it there.
Yeah, I don't think they really draw. Obviously they're big basketball fans, but I just don't think the alumni base is that big. I think so. Alabama's going to send a ton, but UConn, it also doesn't seem like they got a huge fan base, does it?
I don't think so. And again, they just did it last year. So you wonder how many are like, I saw it last year. I'll watch this one on TV. I don't really be that crazy now. I don't know. Brian says a decent seat on SeatGeek is $500, so he's already shopping it apparently.
Yeah, but is that the book? Is that Saturday and Monday? Oh
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because that's 3 total games. So $500 for 3 games. That's actually a really good price.
Yeah, if that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know.
I think if NC State beats Duke, I think the ticket's going to be a little more pricey. I think Purdue or Tennessee, they're going to spend a fortune just like Alabama fans. But I think overall it's going to be a really big ticket.
Yeah, NH3425 clears it up. $490 for that one ticket for Bama UConn. So that was a one-ticket deal, $500. Look, once in a lifetime. I mean, you can see Alabama play for a football national championship a lot. You've done that. This is the first time ever. So at some point, you got to say, I think Nate Oates will get them back to a Final Four. I think he's that good of a coach, but nothing is promised in this life,
No, and I mean, as UConn, like I would equate this, Alabama fans were paying a ton of money for games, for the game against Miami when they won their national championship under Gene Stallings. Like, I think that's going to be this kind of ticket. But, Alabama fans might have been doubting they were going to lose to Miami, but they still held on to the tickets. This one going in against UConn's kind of that massive favorite, and Alabama fans might not think they're going to win this game, but I still think they'll buy tickets.
Mark Hale says Duke was there just 3 years ago. Yes, I know that's the one they lost to North Carolina. I guess what I meant, they haven't won one in a while. What's Duke's last national championship? It's been a while. That was my point.
2014, I think.
Yeah, so
I think it's been 10 years. I think it was against Wisconsin.
And so they're back to being hungry. And this is, if they're able to win, it's the post-Coach K era. So it's his first trip there. So, look, you're going to have to pay for the ticket. It's fine for I will say, though, Lance, and you know this, I think you've done this before. Have you been to a national championship game before?
Yeah, I have.
A lot of times that's the cheaper of the tickets, believe it or not, because the two other fan bases have gone. So they've flooded the market with their tickets. And a lot of the corporate people come to the Saturday. They don't stay for the Monday. So it's actually a lot of times cheaper, and it's in these huge stadiums. It's cheaper to get those tickets. I think Dunaway. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's one of the reasons I didn't do the Saturday.
Yeah. All right, Dunaway's going to join us from the floor. Let's bring him in. Yeah, Dunaway, I know you probably got limited time here. The celebration's still going on behind you there.
Yeah, we're they're cutting down the net. Greg Burns just did it. Most of the players have done it. We're waiting on Nate Oates, and he may be next coming up. I don't know if we can carry it live, but if it's actually over my shoulder, I don't know.
TNT has cleared the air. You make the call. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you guys know the lawyers better than I do.
I think you're fine. I think they have.
Look at this. The Alabama band live in Birmingham. Say hi, everybody.
What a
Dunaway,
what a wild game, man. That was I don't know if you kept up with the numbers courtside. I was talking to Lance earlier, though. Alabama at one point was 1 of 13 from beyond the arc. They finished by hitting 15 of their last 23 three-pointers.
I know, against one of the best three-point defending teams in the country. In this NCAA tournament, they'd held opponents to 18% from three. And, Martin got off to a slow start, and then, wow, just became, what he's been all year long. But I know you guys have talked about it already, but you expect it from Mark, you expect it from Estrada, but what you got from Pringle and what you got from Jaron Stevenson, it was ungodly. It was like what you got from Nelson. Here we go. Here's live.
There's Nate Oates about to finish it off. Move it just a little bit right there, Dunaway. There you go. There you go, Nate Oates. Wow, what a wild moment there. Dunaway, you've watched Alabama basketball your whole life. We were just talking about, if you're an Alabama fan, you probably thought one day it would happen. I don't know that you thought this would be it.
No, I don't think I ever thought that would happen, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. It's football, and I never thought we'd ever see Alabama get there. And then, with this team, didn't think it would happen. And my goodness, it did. And they're going to Phoenix. And in the pregame show on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, I compared it, if they got the win, to that 1920-something Alabama team that got on the train and went to Pasadena. That 100 years from now, if Alabama basketball is a blue blood, they'd look back at this game and said, remember that time Alabama went out west and won the West Regional to go to their first Final Four? They rode a train out there. And, fantastic. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go do some more post game. I just wanted to jump on with you guys.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Great
go to
job.
our feed. We'll go to our feed and next round live. The rest of the night, if you want to stay up all night, we'll have sound going on.
That's right. All right, that next round live is where you'll get all that from Dunaway. Good job out of him. There in LA. So there you go.
Well, he brought up Mark Sears, and if Alabama was to somehow win 2 more games, and I think if you would have asked people, better chance they win 4 games and get to this point, or once they get to this point, win 2 games, most people would say better chance they win 2 games at this point. So there is a chance, obviously. If Alabama was to win this national championship, where do you start to talk about Mark Sears and Alabama history?
Yeah, I mean, You know, it's weird because he transferred in, obviously, but Lance, he's got another year of eligibility. And you heard him talk in the post game about, I'm 6'1", you know, I'm not the guy in high school that had the advantage. I got to work hard. You know, basically, it was saying, I got to work everybody. This guy ain't going to play in the NBA. Is he?
No, I mean, I think he could play. He's not going to get drafted, no chance. He will make so much more in NIL because he's a guy now that will get 7 figures.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pay him just about anything he wants to stay, don't you?
Oh, yeah, blank check.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that's about to play in the Final Four, and you would look at next year, you would have him back. Jaron Stevenson, this guy's upside is tremendous.
Here's your problem with him. One more good game, people are going to the latest NBA mock drafts out of nowhere. Jaron Stevenson's a top 50 guy now. All it really takes is a couple of guys, a couple of scouts to say that. So, yeah, you hope. I mean, the only guy that's out of eligibility is Aaron Estrada, right?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, anybody else can come back on this team. And, you look at that team, you'd want Rylan Griffin back, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Grant Nelson, the way he's now playing, I mean, maybe earlier this year, be like, I don't know, but the way he's playing.
I think Grant Nelson, if he ever hits next level, I mean, I don't know a weakness in the game.
Mm-mm. No, because he's turned into a really good inside defender. And there's been a lot asked of him the last 2 games with Baycott and Hall. I mean, that's 2 good inside players, and he fouled. Well, one of them fouled out tonight. Now, look, Nelson was on the bench a lot with foul trouble too. But I mean, Baycott did not have the game that he needed to have against Grant Nelson. Grant Nelson outplayed him in that game.
Yeah, I think right now it's confidence with Grant, and he got confidence in the second half and looked unbelievable. But I think it's one of the reasons he struggled with the outside shot. I think it's one of the reasons that he's been in foul trouble all year. I think that basketball IQ and his confidence. I mean, once those things lock in, watch out.
Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, this is going to be a good team for years, for a couple of years to come. Jeff says, I wonder if Quinterly is kicking himself. Look, I mean, that was Lance. That was a lot of addition by subtraction. Mark Sears is not the player he is this year if Quinterly's still there.
No, I agree. And that's the thing. Yeah, you look at it. I mean, now when you're in the Final Four, you'll be like, everybody was expendable. But I don't, where would the minutes have gone? I don't know where Quinterly been when you're talking about points per game, shots per games. I don't know. I never thought it was.
Yep. There goes Lance. He was fighting it, though. He was fighting it. I don't know what happened earlier. Or I don't know what happened, but earlier he was struggling a little bit. We can get your thoughts here. A lot of people talking about how Mark Sears is like Jalen Brunson. That was the comparison Jim Jackson made in the North Carolina game. So yeah, I think a lot of people would look at him and say Jalen Brunson is a good comparison there. So maybe he can get drafted and play in the NBA. Jerry asked, does anybody know if Academy's selling Alabama Final Four gear? I do not. There will be Final Four gear out in no time, I think. Some people are saying that they were replaying on TBS the Chris Stewart piece. I'm watching right now. They have not. But if you did not get to see it, go watch it. That was very, very good. Ben says Sears is doubtful to get drafted. I don't know if he will or not. I think, though, he could come back to Alabama and only increase his stock. The way he played this year, he could only increase his stock coming back to Alabama. So I don't think there is I mean, if you're guaranteed to get drafted, it'd be one thing. But he can only increase his stock by coming back to Alabama. So I think you would see Sears there. Oh, okay. Bama JT says they played Chris's final call. I want to go hear that. Did Chris tell everybody's getting out of here? That's become his thing now is I'm getting out of here. Bob says, I would say this was motivation after last year's flop versus San Diego State. Only a few were back from last year's team. See, that's the whole thing is that you look at it and say, well, this is all about, maybe, trying to, like you say, trying to prove that wasn't you last year. It wasn't them. There are so many guys that are going from that team. I mean, Sears, Rylan Griffin, and Nick Pringle are it. Man, that's all the guys that are back just about. And even the assistant coaches weren't there. I mean, it is really just a few people. Greg says basketball is such a strange game. Wimp had so many teams probably better than this team, but it's getting hot at the right time. Look, Nate Oates has had at least 2 teams better than this team. Nate Oates had the overall #1 last year, and they were not able to get there. And then he had another team that was the 2 seed a couple of years ago that won the SEC and the SEC tournament, and they weren't able to get there. This is at best, the 3rd best team Nate Oates has had. But that's the way it happens, like Greg said, in basketball. By the way, I'm told by the people in the office that we've got a shirt coming up. So if Lunsford has the shirt ready before we wrap this thing up, we will show you that shirt. Red Nobasahan's made a lot of money overseas. Yeah, guys go over there, make good money. We've talked to Richard Hendricks about it. We have talked to Ron Slay about it. But see, you can do that at any time. You can make good money staying at Alabama if you're Mark Sears, because Alabama will want him to stay. And then you could go make that money at any time. DeBrad wanted some Jimmy Tears. I think we almost got him, man. We almost got him just a few minutes ago. Bryce, Oates is the man. He's done all the right things all year. Boy, he has. He's had to work hard on this team, man. He's had to work hard on this team, but give him credit. He's done that. He's made the right calls, and he had this team peaking at the right time. So they're, they could not be playing any better at the right time. Ryan points out he's going to have some roster management. They've signed 3 guys. They've got a transfer signed. So, yes, they do have the transfer, and they're not done in the transfer portal either, I don't think. I think they are. I think they're still getting after it in the transfer portal. Let's see. Oh, David Cosby. That's right. Cosby was there. Excuse me. Cosby was there. I missed that. These are moving so fast. I hit the wrong one. I'm sorry. AJ giving a shout out to Greg Byrne, Alabama athletics director. Same guy hired Oates and DeBoer. That's got to be a good sign, right? Jeff points out the job Oates did with scheduling. And he has said that is one reason Alabama is where they are right now. And Oates has said this, is that he felt like they played a good schedule. And we pointed this out. It was actually one of our members of our audience that pointed this out, that you had Alabama losing to Ohio State, who did not make the tournament. They made the NIT. And then every other loss Alabama had was either a Sweet 16 team or a top 7 seed. Every other loss, including Clemson, who they just beat. It was an Elite 8 team. 2 losses to Elite 8 Tennessee. A loss to Elite 8 Purdue. One of those 2 teams being the Final Four. Clemson, as I mentioned, had beaten them already this year. Auburn, who was a 4 seed, had beaten Alabama this year. Florida was the 7 seed that had beaten Alabama twice this year. So it was a brutal schedule. But you look at Alabama and you're like, yeah, maybe they didn't have the record that you wanted them to have. But when you start looking at the losses, you're like, dang, those are good teams they lost to, man. They definitely were. Tripp says the 75-76 team was the best team Alabama had, bar none. Probably right. They ran into maybe the best team college basketball has ever had that year. That was the problem. That was the problem for them. As David says, better teams have not had the grit or the clutch shooting this team has had. I would 100% agree with that. That's what killed Alabama last year. I don't have it in front of me, but boy, what was their number against San Diego State from beyond the arc? They were awful last year from beyond the arc against San Diego State. And it was one of those things that you saw it in the first game against Corpus Christi. You saw it again in Maryland, and you just kind of blew it off. And then in San Diego State, they just couldn't overcome it. That was not the case tonight. 15 threes tonight, or 16 threes tonight, 15 of the last 23. Brandon says Nate Oates' best quality, his ability to identify guys that fit his style and schedule teams that make them better. He has scheduled hard. I will 100% give Nate Oates that. He is not afraid to schedule somebody. They get after it in the pre-conference schedule. And again, I do think it's paid off. Steven, you'll need your best collective defensive effort against the Huskies. And they got a chance if they're hitting the threes, Alabama does. Great job by Oates, he says. Doesn't shy away from time competition for scheduling purposes, and it paid off. I would say the good news is Alabama in this tournament is playing the best defense they played all year. Now, here, I want to quickly circle back to this. Lunsford. I wanted to say Lunsford. It was only 3 made threes last year against San Diego State, but that sounded insane. But it was 3 of 27 against San Diego State. And again, you had seen a little bit of that against Corpus Christi. You know, wasn't great. You'd seen a little bit of that against Maryland, wasn't great, and you were just like, yeah, I'll blow that off. You couldn't blow it off against San Diego State. They were too darn good. This team is playing different than that. But defensively, I mean, that's what has held this team back all year. That is what has held this team back all year is their defensive play. And right now, Alabama is getting after it defensively. Now, people will look at the score in that Charleston game and they'll forget that was a 30-point game. And Alabama put their subs in and cruised to the end. That was a bunch of garbage points for Charleston. But the Grand Canyon game, great defense. The North Carolina game, even though they scored 82, great defense. That game today, great defense. I mean, Alabama has played probably 3 of their best defensive games all year in this tournament. So, I mean, that's shooting might get a little bit cold, but if you start giving effort defensively, and if they can continue that type of play defensively, UConn is a behemoth. This team is incredibly good. And, your best chance to beat them is play defense the way they played. Michael giving huge props to Pringle. Crazy week, but boy, has he played. He has. I mean, from flying up to Spokane with little T to what you've seen the last 2 games out of him, pretty incredible, man. Pretty incredible. Wesley asked, how would Cecil Hurt write this? Cecil was so well known for his coverage of all of Alabama. And obviously there was a lot of football in there, but Cecil, I remember there were a lot of times where Alabama would be playing a big football game somewhere. And he would go to a random basketball game. Like it seems like Alabama was playing an Iron Bowl and he was at that tournament they were playing in Brooklyn. He was a guy that gave Alabama basketball the coverage that a lot of people weren't willing to give it. And this would have been, he had to sit and watch a lot of bad Alabama basketball. So this would have paid off Cecil a little bit. Do miss him, man. Do miss him. T-shirt coming soon, I'm told. So we'll see. I don't even know what's going to be on there. The T-shirt coming soon. I don't know how to say this name, but from Twitter, he says different guys stepping up each game makes Alabama versatile. Defense has to stay physical. You're absolutely right. The Grant Nelson game against North Carolina. Then tonight, you have the Jaron Stevenson game. Like I don't guess we call it a Mark Sears game because I just expect him to do what he does. But the Jaron Stevenson game, man, that's what you had tonight. Josh has been a Bama Hoops fan for 25 plus years, and he has waited for this day. He says this goes back to Greg Sankey challenging the SEC schools to invest in hoops. They did. And Greg Byrne firing Avery and hiring Oates. It's interesting. A lot of people thought Greg Byrne or that Alabama, Bill Battle, waited a little bit too long with Avery Johnson and missed on Bruce Pearl. And I know it's sacrilege to say now because everybody sees Bruce Pearl as the Auburn coach. Like, that's not who I wanted. But there were a lot of Alabama fans that wanted Bruce Pearl. He was sitting on the sidelines there. He still had some stuff he would have to get past. But a lot of people wanted him to move on from Avery Johnson and go for Bruce Pearl. Didn't work out, and Auburn made that hire, and it was an excellent hire for Auburn, best coach Auburn's ever had. But now you look at Greg Byrne and say, you know what? It didn't work out that way, but boy, did you turn out right, man. And, I mean, Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl right there together. I mean, in fact, Nate Oates a much better NCAA tournament resume now than what Bruce Pearl has had at Auburn. So I don't think you've backed up one bit. It turned out that patience, and maybe not patience, but mistiming didn't really kill you in that situation. Boy, a lot of comments in the comment section about the arena. A lot of them. Jerry says, almost exactly 5 years since the Oates hire. If you'd have told me the day Oates would have done that, I wouldn't believe it. Well, there you go. Yeah, excuse me. I got Johnson confused with Grant. I apologize for all of you in the chat room. It was Grant they were wanting to move on from and get Bruce Pearl, and they hired Avery Johnson. But there again, making that mistake, if it was a mistake, you were able to clean it up. And now you've got the guy. Ryan would not trade Nate Oates for 10 Bruce Pearls. It's a lot of coaches. I don't think he had that many coaches on the bench, so that would probably be a bad trade anyway. Richard says, a lot of comments here, need some likes. Yeah, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. We would really appreciate that. And again, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that and set your alerts so you know when we're live. Robin on Facebook. Clemson hit 3 straight threes, and Alabama responded with 3 straight of their own. Huge. That was a really cool moment. I want to go back. You're going to have to give me a second to dig through this. I'm going to go look at the play-by-play. I want to see the time on that and those back-to-back-to-back, because that was such a massive moment in the game. Pringle made a free throw. Then 7:47, Gerard made a 3. 10 seconds later, this is how fast Alabama plays. 10 seconds later, Estrada hits Griffin for the 3. They come back down. So that was the 7:37 mark, and that gave Alabama a 6-point lead. It had been cut to 3, back to 6. They come back down. Gerard makes the 3, cuts it back to 3 at the 7:20 mark. 7:06 mark, Stevenson makes that huge 3, sends it back to 6. They come back down at the 6:30, and Shefflin tries the 3, bangs it off the back of the rim, and then Sears comes back, and he makes the 3. 68-59 at the 6:24 mark. So Alabama 3 straight possessions, 3 straight threes. Clemson 2 straight possessions of a 3, and then a missed 3. So you're trading back and forth, and then Alabama takes the lead there, 68-59. But then P.J. Hall, the big guy, comes down and makes the 3, and Alabama commits the turnover. And that's when Pringle made the foul, and Shefflin misses the free throw because he was not good at the stripe tonight. Like, I started thinking, you're almost to the point where you just start fouling Shefflin every single time he touches it. Then Sears makes the 3-pointer again to make it 71-62, and Alabama never looked back. That put it to 9. Alabama ends up winning by 7, and that was the 5:08 mark. And when Sears made that 3 off the pass from Estrada, well, you felt like then it's going to be hard for Alabama to lose this game. At least I did, 71-62. Probably a lot of you are like, no, absolutely, until the clock hit 0. I did not feel about it. Metallica, Alabama, good band, said, I told one of my friends Oates would have Bama in the Final Four by 26. I'm never so glad to be wrong. It's just so hard to do it. So hard to do it. Mike DeCourcy. Mike's come on our show a lot. May have to get him back on this week. If the message you received from 2024 selections was playing easier schedule, say hi to Bama. And there you go. Look at it right there. Played Purdue, Arizona, Creighton, Clemson, Oregon in the non-conference. Absolutely. Jay Jordan. When McKee, Connor, Dudley, Godfrey, and Farmer lost in 85, I never thought we'd make the Final Four. And this team made him eat his words. And then 87 again, that team that lost to Billy Donovan in Providence in the Civic Center. That was a 2 seed, right? And that was pretty incredible team. I don't know why DeBrett is doing this, but he's going to hit his 1-iron off the tee tomorrow. That's a hard club to hit. Good luck. Let's see. Sam, did they ever say what the Wrightsville condition was? It's a head injury. He's had a concussion already this year. And it was a weird deal against Grand Canyon. He just kind of hit the floor, and it's like, I guess he just hit the floor too hard. At first, I thought he hit maybe a teammate's knee or something like that, but he just hit the floor. And it re-aggravated that concussion, and he's been day to day. He was obviously in street clothes tonight. CBS said, and I'm assuming if CBS said this, that they were getting this from Alabama or from Nate Oates, that if they can make the Final Four, he would be back active. They expect him to be back active. So we will, we'll see. We will know, I guess, when Alabama gets out there on Friday. Luke says, KenPom projections, 13 of 16 teams in efficiency rating made the Sweet 16. Interesting, the team that missed and made outside of the rankings, that would be Alabama. They were not in the Alabama was not in. I've got the. I think that's what Luke was saying in that tweet. Because Connecticut is number 1 in the efficiency ratings. Houston number 2, Purdue number 3. Oh, Auburn, I think is what he's getting at. Auburn was number 4 in the KenPom. Duke number 5, Tennessee 6, Arizona 7. All these teams are the Sweet 16. Iowa State 8, North Carolina 9, Illinois 10, Creighton 11, Gonzaga 12, Alabama 13. That's what he was saying. Marquette 14, Baylor 15, Michigan State 16. That's his top 16. So you look at the top 14, every one of those teams is the Sweet 16 except Auburn. I thought he was talking about the stat of the adjusted defensive efficiency and offense. Every national champion since 2002 has been in the top 25 adjusted defense and top 40 adjusted offense. Alabama will not get there because even after, I believe this is through tonight's game, through tonight's game, I'm going to tell you where Alabama is defensively. And you got to be, again, you got to be in the top 25. They are third offensively now, but they're 102 defensively. But I will say the last 2 or 3 games, they've been a lot better than 102. Andy says, I say you leave Reitzel on the bench, let him cheer his team on. This is a guy that shoots about 40% from beyond the arc. And I know Alabama has played well without him, but man, you got to get him back in if he's available. He's a great defender too. That's the thing. As well as Riley Griffin played defensively. Excuse me, Reitzel's a really good defender. I've run dry here and I'm starting to cough. I apologize for that. Eric has gotten his book of tickets, $700. Just booked a full book. Congrats. So it's 3 games. You hope you need all 3 games. All right, there's your shirt. There is your shirt. History Made, $89.92. Lunsford, I assume he'll probably drop a link in here in the chat room. I assume those are up right now at nextround.store, nextround.store, at History Made, $89.82. See you in Phoenix as Alabama's headed to the Final Four. And that will be right there in the Next Round store, nextround.store. And in fact, Lunsford's got that QR code right there. So you can scan that QR code right to the store and buy it. The History Made shirt, and Lunsford has thrown that link in the chat room there. For some reason, like 5 straight links there. Lunsford going heavy on that one. So there you go. Speaking of QR codes, don't forget to scan the MyBookie.ag QR code. I'll give you some point spreads for tomorrow as we wind this thing down. Some point spreads for tomorrow from MyBookie.ag. Real quick, let me pull those up. Tennessee and Purdue. Purdue a 3.5-point favorite. Purdue favored by exactly what Alabama was, if you want some perspective on that for whatever that is worth. And then the Blue Devils of Duke, a 6.5-point favorite tomorrow over their conference foe, North Carolina State. They split their season series as Duke won the regular season and North Carolina State won the tournament. Obviously, because North Carolina State had to win 5 straight games of that tournament just to be in the NCAA tournament. So there you go. That's your matchups there at MyBookie.ag. You can play all those games. MyBookie.ag, code next round. MyBookie.ag, code next round. Get that sign-on bonus. And when you get that sign-on bonus, you can right away play it. Win once with it. It is yours and yours forever at MyBookie.ag, MyBookie.ag. Sam asked if I have Tennessee or Purdue. I have Creighton coming out of that region. So that tells you how well I did there. However, thank you to UConn. I cannot finish last now. Dunaway has locked in last place. There is a way I can finish first. I can't remember. Lunsford had it figured out. I really don't care about that. I mean, as much as I gave people grief for playing for second, I just wanted to be second and not lose this thing again. So I am safe. Dunaway is going to have to make 3-pointers at 5 different places. So, he's got to get back from California first, unless he wants to try to do it out there. He said he may try to do it out in California. Somebody's got a video of that. All right, here we go. Lunsford says, Tennessee and UConn have to lose their next game for me to win. Listen, I pull for our state teams. I was pulling for Auburn in the Final Four. I'll pull for Alabama in the Final Four, even if it means I finish second. I'll follow my sword to see if I can finish second. Clay asked if Dunaway could sneak on the court and start shooting tonight. The goal has no nets on it. We don't know if he made it or not. The goal has no nets. Paul is rooting for Rick Barnes tomorrow. Rick Barnes is one of the true good guys in the sport. Since it is it Easter yet? No, we're an hour away in the Central Time Zone from Easter. I'll tell you a pretty cool story about Rick Barnes, and I'm not going to remember the player's name. And I wish I did. But I'm not going to remember the player's name. But as I remember this story, Rick Barnes had a former player at Tennessee who gave his life to Christ, and he was being baptized on a Sunday morning. And Tennessee had a Sunday game. So that CBS Sunday Tip, I think, was like an 11 or 12 o'clock game. So this guy's getting baptized, and Tennessee's got a game in a matter of hours. And he walks out in the baptismal pool there, and he looks into the crowd, and on the front row, he sees Rick Barnes. Didn't know he was coming. Rick Barnes never told him he was coming. But Rick Barnes found out that he had a player that was getting baptized. And on the day of a game, on the Sunday, day of a game, which if it's a CBS game, there's a chance that's like Kentucky, Tennessee and Kentucky. Rick Barnes is there, sees him get baptized, goes and coaches the game. I just think he's a good dude, man. I like Rick Barnes, and wouldn't mind seeing him getting into the Final Four at all and get that monkey off his back. He went once with Texas, obviously, but he hasn't been with Tennessee, and he's probably been known for more his failures in the NCAA tournament than his successes in the NCAA tournament, unfortunately. But hey, listen, one Final Four trip can fix all of that. So yeah, I'll pull for Rick Barnes. I know a lot of you, like, I see a Bama fan right there. I will never pull for Tennessee. I get it. I know that rivalry runs deep, but I do like Rick Barnes. He's a good guy, man. So good luck to him. But hey, Matt Painter on the other side, I have not dealt with him. I think he came on the show a long time ago. But a lot of people say the same about Matt Painter, that he's just a good dude. And there's another guy that is more known for his failures in the tournament than his successes. There's no doubt about that either. So we'll see if they can get in tomorrow. Steven, didn't Bobby Hurley hire Oates to Buffalo? They did. I stumbled across, believe it or not, on TikTok. I was on TikTok the other night. I stumbled across some video of Nate Oates as a high school basketball coach in Michigan. This is before Bobby Hurley hired him. And he was in a suit and tie on the sidelines of a high school game, and he's mic'd up. And it sounds like the same Nate Oates now. Like, he hasn't changed a whole lot, but it's pretty cool because he was in high school. But yeah, Bobby Hurley hired him there. And now he'll go against the other Hurley, the better Hurley of the two. Everybody thought Bobby was going to be the star coach, and Danny Hurley has become the star coach of those two. So that's kind of a swap right there, right? Blake pointing out that our show's in Auburn Tuesday. That is true. We will talk some Final Four while we're there, but it is in Auburn. Sorry about that. We're just doing our trip, man. Just doing our deal. Wow. So Alabama, as you can see, the shirt, if you want to get it in the Next Round store, the QR code is right there. Nextround.store. That'll take you right to it. Nextround.store. QR code. History made 89-82. It's got the score on there, and you can forever have a commemorative shirt of the night you sat and watched Alabama win a game over Clemson, not in football, but in basketball, to go to the Final Four. Somebody's saying what Wimp's doing right now. I don't know if that's the case. Smoking a cigar and drinking whiskey. I don't think Wimp drinks, and I'm not sure he smokes cigars. Here we go. Auburn fans in a dark place right now. It's the way that rivalry works. Alabama fans probably felt the same way when they saw Auburn go to the Final Four. That was as surprising. I mean, Auburn was not a team you came in thinking was going to go to the Final Four. And they had to go through this murderer's row of great names in Kansas, who was a 4 seed. By the way, the worst seed Bill Self has ever had, a 4 seed. That's pretty remarkable in his time in Kansas. Kansas was a 4 seed. They had to beat North Carolina, a 1 seed. They had to beat Kentucky, who I think was a 2 seed, if I remember right. And ran into Virginia. So, sometimes you just don't stay. It's not the team you think is going to make the run. And Alabama fans probably were not prepared looking at that road Auburn had to take for them to make the run. I don't think Auburn fans were prepared for Alabama to make this run. Trust me. Lee asked, can Dunaway even do a layup? That is to be determined. I don't know. To be determined. All right, so Alabama has made it to the Final Four for the first time in school history. First time in school history, Alabama has made the Final Four. You get the commemorative shirt with that QR code. The QR code is just a little bit below it, MyBookie.ag. I feel like I'm doing the weather here. MyBookie.ag, code next round to sign on to MyBookie. When you use code next round, you get that sign-on bonus. And win once with it. It is yours and yours forever. And then the Autograph app is right here, the Autograph app. With that Autograph app, you can download the app, use your email address, pick your favorite teams, and you get all the great content from those teams in one spot at the Autograph app. It is Tom Brady's app, so you know it's quality. Autograph app. And use code TNR, please. Code TNR when you sign on. That helps us a tremendous amount. If you're watching us on YouTube and have not subscribed yet, subscribe and set your alerts, please. And that way you know when we go live on shows like this outside our normal time. But you'll also get that alert when we go live on 9 o'clock every single weekday morning. If you could give us a thumbs up, though, we would greatly appreciate it. It helps us a ton when you do that on YouTube. Also, and on Twitter, fire off a retweet and make sure you follow us at Next Round Live there, and Facebook as well, all social media at Next Round Live. Andy loves me. Thank you, Andy. I love you too. It has not been hard work. It's the easiest job in the world. Adam says, happy Easter, Brownie. Happy Easter, all you guys. If you're in the Central Time Zone, that's coming up in 50 minutes. So everybody needs to get to bed so you can get up and hunt those eggs, go to church, whatever the case might be for you guys tomorrow. Go eat some ham and deviled eggs. All right, guys. Fun time. Thanks for jumping on here with us. And congrats to Alabama and all you Alabama fans for getting to see a Final Four in your lifetime. All right. Congrats. We appreciate you joining us. We'll be back live with you 9 o'clock. Go to Next Round Live on all social media to get Dunaway's content coming up from LA. He's headed to the locker room. It should be a jovial locker room. And he'll have all of that for you at Next Round Live, Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great night. Thanks for watching the Next